Hello and welcome students of Standard 8 to a lesson in science called Force and Pressure. When an ex-student was asked, "What is force?" she had this to say.
What is force? Force is a physical cause that changes or may tend to change the state of rest or the state of motion of an object. For example, a bottle at rest moves due to force applied by a person.
So something moves due to force applied by a person. This is what she had to say about force. What do we see in this picture? The attendant in a hospital. He is pushing an elderly person on a wheelchair. Whereas in the next picture, you can see that this little girl is kicking a ball. And here we can see this gentleman pulling the child on the swing and pushing. So there are two actions of pulling and pushing. In the first picture, the wheelchair is being pushed, and in the next picture, the ball is being kicked. So from this, we can say that a force is defined as a push or pull, resulting in the acceleration of the object. Meaning, a force can be either a push or a pull. And what happens when you pull or push or kick or do any action which is related to pulling and pushing is that the object you are dealing with has an acceleration or a movement. A sleeping or an object at rest may start moving, or an object which is already moving will start moving faster. So that is the effect of force. And the definition, once again, force is defined as a push or pull resulting in the acceleration or speeding up of the object. Some type of forces which you are familiar with. The force of friction, you're pushing. Already there is a muscular force. And then whatever you are pushing is, scraping against or dealing with the flow below. It has an action with the flow. And that is called frictional force. Magnetic force is the force of magnetism which pulls all magnetic substances towards it. The force of gravity, any object coming towards the earth, it comes straight down to the earth, pulled because of the force of gravity. And another force is electric force, where things start to glow and start working due to the electricity or the electric force. Okay. Once again, this is a push or a pull. And here you can see that the rocks or boulders right from top of a hill are falling towards the earth. Okay. Have you ever seen during a landslide rocks falling upward or rocks falling on the sides? No. They will always fall to the earth, towards the earth. So therefore, we now come to two types of forces, which is contact force, seen over here very clearly. The person is pushing something and pulling the door. So he is having contact with the door, either pulling or pushing. Another type of contact force is a frictional force. Now, I push a table or I push a box or I push a cupboard. this is all muscular force. But when I am pushing it, it also interacts with the flow and it reacts with the flow in an opposite direction. This is known as frictional force. And because there is touching between both the objects, the man and the door, or the box and the man is pushing it, contact is there with the flow and the box. These forces are called contact forces. The other type of force is non-contact force. For example, gravitational force. The force of gravity doesn't touch these boulders or these rocks falling down. Okay, it pulls from below the earth, but still there is a force which allows everything to fall towards the earth. The same goes with magnetic force. Now, magnetic force doesn't work over such a big area, but definitely if you put a strong bar magnet and keep nails over there by the side, slowly you will find the nails being pulled towards the magnet. You are not pushing the nails, it just goes towards the magnet. Now, here, no one is touching anything. The force of gravity does not touch the rock, nor does the magnet touch the nails, but still you can notice there is a force. Now, when nothing is touching, they are not in contact with each other, those forces are called non-contact forces. So, we come to the definition. A force which is seen to act through the direct contact of objects is called a contact force. So, something like this, when a man is hitting someone or pushing that person down, he has to do it with contact. Only when he punches him will he fall down. So, he is in direct contact with the other person. So this kind of force seen to act through the direct contact of objects is called a contact force. On the other hand, a force applied between two objects, even if the objects are not in contact, is called a non-contact force. And here we have the example of a horseshoe magnet, and even if you keep the nails further away from the magnet, you will find they are being pulled towards the magnet without touching. That is called a non-contact force. What can you see in this picture? They are scales, okay, and very clearly you can see that one of them is a little higher up and the other one is lower. Now, what can you say of this? Is that the one which is lower must be having something, which is weighing more than the one in the other scale. Okay. On the other hand, look at this. Okay. Maybe there is 1 kilo worth of something in this scale on the left hand side and equally 1 kilo on the right hand side. So both the scales are on the same level. Similarly, on this seesaw, both the children on either side may weigh the same because the seesaw is straight. It's not tilting onto one side. On the other hand, look at this. There is definitely more weight on the other side and therefore you find the tilting of the scale. Okay. So this brings us to two types of forces called balanced and unbalanced force. So you've seen with the scales and the seesaw when they were balanced. They didn't go in any direction towards the left or towards the right. So balanced forces are forces exerted on the object which are equal in magnitude and opposite in direction. So we have a force on the object which is equal on both the sides and opposite in direction in two different directions. Now in this case, the body will be at rest. You've seen with the scales. At rest, the seesaw not tilting onto any side. Okay. And a balance force does not change the state of rest or motion of an object. Meaning, because the force is balanced, that object does not move or does not, start changing like up and down. Whereas in an unbalanced force, the forces which are applied on both the sides are unequal in magnitude. That means how much force you apply is unequal on both the sides. In the scales we seen, in the unbalanced one, maybe there was 1.5 kilo of kg of something on the left hand side, and that's why that one went down. Okay, so those forces which are being applied are unequal. Now, unbalanced forces make the body move. Okay, you've seen the seesaw up towards the left or towards the right. And an unbalanced force is the one that changes the state of rest or motion of any object. So, think of your sports day. You have this very exciting event called tug of war. Okay, and everyone is cheering for tug of war, and so there are two teams on either side, and they take hold of the rope, and then when the signal is given, they start pulling. Now for some time you find, both the teams, the rope, is not moving, because the force on the left side and the force on the right side is equal, so that rope doesn't move. After a while, you will find one of the teams getting little weaker, and then the rope moving towards the left, and then suddenly the rope being pulled towards the right, because that team starts pulling, fiercely, and so the rope will be moving from side to side till one team just makes a big effort and pulls the rope onto one side and wins that tug of war. Now, this is exactly what is balanced and unbalanced force. When the force is balanced on both the sides, that rope won't move. It will be at rest. It does not change to left or right, because the forces are equal in magnitude and in opposite directions. But the minute the force becomes unbalanced, it changes the state of rest or motion of that rope, because now the forces are unequal in magnitude. Now, look at this ball, nicely resting on the lawn in the grass. And here someone comes and kicks it, and now changes the state from the state of rest to the state of motion. So we have another concept here, and that is the tendency of any object to remain in its existing state, and that tendency is called inertia. Any object, may it be the ball, may it be the mobile phone that you are using, or your books, they will remain in that state of inertia till asked to move or force is acting upon it. So that state which every object has of remaining in its existing state, either at rest or it is just moving along a straight line for some time, that is called inertia. There are different types of inertia. The first one, inertia of the state of rest. An object in its state of rest cannot change the state of rest due to its inherent property. Okay, so this is called inertia of the state of rest. State of rest is when there is no movement of the object. So an object in its state of rest cannot change its state of rest due to the property it has within itself of being able to remain at rest. Now, if you look at this one here, this man falling on this huge, pile of leaves. Before he falls, you see these leaves. they are in a state of rest or in inertia, in the state of inertia. You see, they are not moving. And because the man comes and forces them to move, then they start moving. Okay, all this time they were in a state of rest or a state of inertia. Okay, the second type. Okay, look at this picture. The car moves. Okay, and when it hits something or when there's a break, the person inside is moving. The car stops, but the person is who is inside will move. Here it is a giraffe. It could be you in a bus or a train or a car when suddenly there's a brake put and then you move because the car or the vehicle has stopped. So the second type of inertia is the inertia of movement or motion. This is the property of an object due to which its state of motion cannot change. So what happens here? You are sitting, you are not moving, but when the car brakes or hits something, you will automatically move ahead. Okay, that is called inertia of motion. And the third one, look at this. Look at these rolling down. They will roll only in this direction. Okay, can you ever think of these objects moving in the opposite direction? Okay, they move towards the direction and then they will keep on moving for some time till they stop. Similarly, you see here, there is something tied on the end of a rope, and this gentleman is moving it, and it will keep on moving and moving and moving, and even after he stops it will move for some time. Okay, and then it will stop. In the same way, you may have the fan on full speed and then you go out of the room, and then what you do is you put it off. Okay, you're gone out to the kitchen to drink some water, you come back, you will still find the fan having some you know movement at very low speed, and it will continue to move till after some time it stops by itself. Now this is known as directional inertia, and that is the inherent property, the property within an object due to which that object cannot change the direction. Okay, so these over here, these objects which are moving, okay, they'll only move in this direction. They will never be moving like this, a zigzag motion. They will, whichever property they have within themselves, that property is used to move in a particular direction which cannot be changed. That is called directional inertia. And so we learn about force. The things that we learned are that force moves a stationary body or a body at rest. Force also changes the speed of a moving body. Force can change the shape of a moving body. Okay? It can change the direction of a moving body, and force can also stop a moving body.